Appreciate you, sis.
You trying to go on somebody's date?
Bruh. Only if they the right one. All right.
Well, we are officially live. Let me check and make sure that we
Hey,
are
y'all.
actually live. Is we up?
Yeah.
We're up. Okay,
Yeah, we're live.
In
we're
these
live.
streets.
We up in these streets. Well, we glad to have you, Dre. I was like, I need Dre. I'm gonna see if he busy since it ain't no more Dreezy season. So
Right? You got time now, cuz.
ain't no excuses. You gotta squeeze us in. You gotta squeeze us in, Dre.
Look, temporarily, yeah, you right.
Oh, just temporarily. What's coming up?
It'll pop back up sooner or later. I got things I gotta do. You know how that works. I got
Woo!
plans.
He said he living life out here.
No, I'm
Well,
not.
yes, you are. You out here doing it big. We proud.
Yes.
Thank you.
I still got my Dreezy Cloth books on display. Okay,
All around.
they still on display. They ain't got packed away because of the holidays. They still on display up there.
They year round. University.
Look, I was trying to control myself because I am a colorer. I love to color, and then word searches are my deal. Like I love me a good word search. So I was like, "Ooh, these look so fun," but I don't think they're meant for me. So I might have to order me a book myself that I could actually do the activities. I actually do the activities.
You gotta have your book separate though.
I know those. I got them for the kids, but
Because you be mad the kids come color in your book.
this is facts because they don't cut. Well, Naraya is a splendid colorer. She can. That girl has got the move.
Splendid.
She's splendid.
Splendid.
Splendid. Because I still get out of a line or two. I'm getting kind of old, so my
Oh, she'd be mad you come color in her book. Okay.
Right.
All right.
I'm still getting out the lines a little bit. Well, people is joining us on the live, family. Welcome, everybody. Good evening. Happy Black History Month. Yes,
Black
yes.
history, yes, always, yeah, always, every day. We do it.
I'm
like
blackity black and I'm black, y'all. And I'm black, y'all. And I'm blackity black. Got my
I put up my status. And I put up my status and I said, let's just be clear. Okay, over here we celebrate Black History Month 365. Black History, Black Excellence every day. But this month, oh, we about to go crazy.
It's extra blackity black.
This month right here.
This month we get to be extra blackity black. And for the Juneteenth that's coming up this year, because it is officially a national holiday.
Well, we was turning up before they officially gave us anything.
Yes, but now the people can't be like, you got to use your floating holiday. No, I don't got to use my floating holiday.
We don't believe in that.
We don't
need that here.
I'm not in school. Look, I'm not at work at that time, so I'm okay regardless.
We didn't ask.
We've been turning up for years.
we didn't ask for that. You couldn't just let me have my moment. I was excited. And
you can be. But I'm just saying, like, it doesn't really,
affect you in that way.
What happened to community? See, this is why I'm tired. This is why I'm tired.
Work and responsibility. We all taking responsibility for them days she had to take off. But now she ain't got to do that no more.
I ain't got to use my floating holiday, y'all.
We asked for reparations, but they gave us
free.
No, that ain't my reparations. Don't go there. You don't.
They gave us a holiday. We asked for equality.
No, I need more. That does not sum up reparations.
And Maya Angelou on a quarter.
I need more
for the right to vote, not to be.
Okay, we got people with us, and we on here bantering. They like, what are y'all talking about? I'm here for the show. Well, welcome everybody. We are so happy to see y'all. I'm seeing some comments here. Happy Black History Month, Gerard. We're glad to have you.
And they better recognize Juneteenth. I'm with you, brother.
Right.
No more floating holidays for me, y'all. Celebrate for me. No more floating holidays.
The day before, you just look at all your white coworkers like,
Oh, but they get to have it off too.
I know.
That's the trick.
Reparations would have been
like on Juneteenth they should have to eat collard greens and they should have to eat Black cuisine.
That's a reward. Why are we rewarding them?
This is facts.
Why are we treating them on Juneteenth?
I can't. Yeah, how do we that's the tripped out part about all of this. When you look at it, when
It
we look
is.
at like when people talk about like reparations and things like that, and flipping it, and if because we are unequivocally not in power, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Not in power as
Or
far as
what
like
they thought. Because
politically, economically, things of that nature. We are not in the driver's seat, so to speak.
mm-hmm.
I wonder what it would be if we were in a driver's seat. Would we be oppressing anyone? Not just white people, but just anyone. Think
Hmm.
about that for a moment. What would happen if we were in a driver's seat? Would we
I
be okay just being in
okay.
a driver's seat, or would we be like in the oppressive state, or what would we be doing? Like
I
you
feel
know,
like we do that. I was just having this discussion because lately, ever so often, the internet start ramping up again about submission and black women not wanting to be
Oh
submissive,
Lord.
and so it's like it's there again. So between black women not wanting to be submissive and between polygamy, the
mm,
timeline's been blowing up on just debates, right?
You got a
And
little spicy timeline over there, don't you?
spicy.
Timeline, mad spicy.
Man, extra crispy
Cayenne.
too. Girl, it be every day I get on there, I be like, Lord, every day all I got to do is fight. I gotta fight all of my life, and I just don't want to do that. But I do feel like that is exactly what you're talking about, is this whole idea of what black woman submission looks like, what that means for us, how we're supposed to be submitting. And I feel like that is exactly what you being in the driver's seat and y'all will oppress us. I feel
But
like we should get
I
oppressed.
would like to beg the differ a little bit, just a little bit of that.
Oh no, sis.
A
I
little bit
don't
of
know.
that. Just a
Mhm,
little bit of difference. Okay.
mhm.
And I say that because of this. So very interesting question, Trey. When we were, I'm gonna use this loosely because we still have the power, we just don't know it. But
right,
when we
right, right.
were in power, historically, when white folks or whatever you want to call them, we're still in caves and living impoverished and over in the mountains or wherever else they was frolicking, okay? And we
The
were living
mountains of Caucasus, as they say.
right you're right, the Caucasians, okay? When we were living our best life over in Africa with all the fruits and vegetables and partnering with animals and all types of greatness in our villages, supporting and loving on each other, okay? Not saying that wasn't conflict, not saying that wasn't slavery before Western civilization slavery, because that's different, because there was, but it was different, okay? We still lived more harmoniously. Western culture has negatively impacted our mental state. So at this point, I feel like if we were to reclaim power in the way that we're speaking of it in this context, then it may be some heat, just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I don't think everybody just be out here crazy, but there might be some heat. But I think traditionally we were never those type of people. I feel like we were giving. That's one reason why they could do what they did to us, because they came over and we like, yeah, let me give you the secrets. Let me tell you how to farm. Let me tell you
Yeah.
how to wash your butt. Let me tell you how to do this.
Yeah, if we looking at history, ain't that how it's been for everybody? Because even for indigenous folks, isn't that what happened to our indigenous brothers and sisters? Also,
Right.
like
We were open people. We
some
weren't like
things,
conquerors.
and people started, hurting villages and bringing their diseases and
Right.
that's I'm trying
So
to
shout
be
out to all the black, brown, melanated, and indigenous people of the world. Okay.
facts.
You all got plenty.
But today, sis,
Mm-hmm.
we here to talk about part 2 about why I'm tired. Like why we
That's why I'm
tired.
tired.
That's why you tired. I'm tired
These
about that
colonizers
too.
out here. No,
You just will colonize us. They're out here. I get it.
I'm tired of these colonizers. Listen.
I understand. I understand. The struggle be
Like it's
real.
hard, y'all.
I work in nonprofit, honey. So
You tired of these colonizers.
oof, 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 Lord, am I tired? I sure is tired. I sure
That's all
is
my life
tired.
I has to fight. So right
Listen,
there.
I sure is tired. I wrote a whole poem entitled "I sure is tired."
You gonna let us hear that today as we talk about why we're tired?
Y'all trying to get me on here to make a fool of myself in front of
Okay,
all.
listen, real quick, y'all. Everybody watching, drop it in comments real quick if y'all want Sante to perform Our show list tab after the show. Everybody, y'all just go ahead, drop in. Drop
Raindrops,
in.
raindrop, raindrop.
Raindrop, raindrop,
Hey,
raindrop.
you see the setup, Dre?
Let it come, let it flow. Y'all type it into the comments. If we get 10 people to say we want her to do it, she gonna do it. Go ahead.
They ain't gonna do that. I'm good.
We'll see. We need 10 people to say performance.
Oh, Gerard.
Let's go. We got one. I'm gonna be monitoring. I'm also gonna be repeating this as the show goes on.
There's something going on here with the
Do
comments.
it.
Oh.
Do it. Okay.
This is a setup.
We halfway there already, sis.
Y'all done set me all the way up. Y'all done set me up. That's cool. Okay, so then at the end of the show, if I can find it,
7 times 3.
I guess I'll recite or I'll read. I don't know about a performance because
there you go, sis. That's it. Okay. You doing it.
But at the end of the show, maybe after we have this conversation,
as there's time, so we're gonna close out with this poem because they already.
If people ain't tired, everybody, how y'all gonna have more people on the stream?
Everybody wants you to do it. So.
Thanks. Go forth and perform, good sis. Okay, I will not disappoint the people. I will do my best, y'all. Because we here and we tired. But anyhow, Dre, thanks for joining us. We be so happy. Dre don't know it yet, but he is essentially like our third host.
No,
he should know by now.
He's trying to avoid the inevitable. Like this is meant to be. This is fate, and he won't admit it. But he loved being here with us. I don't know why he trying to front like he don't.
I do. Look, I gotta keep my composure like I do at school with the kids.
Oh, you can't let us know how you really feel.
Yeah, they be on like I really feel like I'm hanging out with them right now. They talking to me, and I'm like, no, I don't want to play with y'all. Doing good and well. Doing good and well. I was like, yeah.
Look, you got people out here plugging. They say Dre is also single. Get them ladies. Look.
Who that is in that?
Natalie and I are accepting applications for
before. We are accepting applications for
I am. I'm currently dating, so we good. I'm currently dating.
Okay. Applications over here.
Wait a minute. You're currently dating someone?
Yes, I have to date.
Did they?
You have to.
Did they submit their
price if it's a hostage situation?
No. I mean, like I'm dating now. Yeah, I'm dating now. Like I'm in the dating mode and I'm dating now. Yeah.
Oh, but you're not beholden to anyone at this particular moment, correct?
Options are open.
Looking pretty good so far. We're not
trying to get you in trouble in that, but I ain't seen no applications come across our desk.
I was just about to say that she has not yet submitted her information for our 5-point check.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, we'll see about that. We can talk about that.
We got to do the 5-point check.
Must.
Okay.
Mandatory.
Yeah.
Okay. But hello, maybe if she's watching, send us your application, ma'am. And please. For anyone else who's interested, we are also still accepting applications.
Look, somebody said he'd be making ribs. Listen.
Look, I don't know if y'all been seeing these plates, ladies. If y'all see these plates he's making, okay. If y'all meat eaters, he for your life, okay.
He be making lamb chops. Play along. He be making.
They look like they glazed, all that, y'all.
Marinated, and all the
educated, jolly, cooking, catch, ladies.
Business entrepreneur.
Come on, history maker. Woo! He making history in Chi-Town, okay?
Y'all stop.
I am also accepting applications if anyone is interested. Go ahead, drop.
Yes, we got to get you. Yes. We need you.
Hold on now.
What's up, sis? Send them to
when we get these applications in for you, you gonna have to trust me and let me do it because you be too.
I want to date. Listen, I promised the Lord earlier in my life. I was like, look, I'm going to remain open. I'm going to keep eyes open, hearts open. I ain't shutting nobody down unless I need to. You know what I'm saying?
All right. That's all we need to hear.
But I'm open. You know what I'm saying?
That's all we need to know. Go for it.
That's all we need to know.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Come on,
Mhm.
Oh,
they put this
Marjay.
conversation in the comments, by the way, y'all.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get them on the
Oh, we
screen.
gonna talk dating game coming soon.
Ooh, hey now. Look, go ahead and speak it
Coming soon.
into reality, sis. I hear you. I feel it. I'm ready for that. Who gonna be our first contestant then?
Come on, it might be Drake.
Oh,
Oh, good. No, stop it. Stop it. I
Not
see. I
Drake. Okay.
see. I see somebody I know on here on the chat line. Marjay. That's one of my brilliant brown boys. He's on the line, so I'm just gonna say hi to him right quick. He's a brilliant young man.
Hi,
He's doing his
brown
thing. He is
boy.
doing his thing. He is going to be an up and coming high school student real soon. So man, pour into him. He's doing
Yes.
great. Great work. He's a great
Woo!
young man.
that's
He's a great
black
young man.
excellence. Black
That
excellence.
is. We celebrate you this Black History Month. You
Blackity black.
current history maker. You yes. Keep being
Indeed.
amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely. 100.
Brilliant and brown. You already had a good start.
So why don't we go ahead and jump into this conversation? We had a good talk a couple weeks ago. Last week, a girl was in here sounding like Mufasa, so it wasn't very appropriate for me to try and be on here. Had a long week of talking last week. So we're back this week for part 2 of Why I'm Tired. We had some good conversation between me and the sis last week. The week before last, when we were talking about some of the things that we're tired about. And as always, what we try and do here on Oh We Gonna Talk is have different perspectives because, it's not just about us, it's about everybody. Like we're a community and we need to have different perspectives on why we tired. And we just love Dre. I mean, like we said, this brother is our honorary third host, even though he just don't want to claim it. We know he love us. We know how he really feels. So he don't need to say it. It's kind of like one of the things like we already know how he feels, but we'll let him keep up his poker face and stuff, his
We
chin
ain't
up.
gonna call it out too much.
We ain't gonna call him out too much. But
Oh, thank you.
I wanted a perspective about men being tired, black men being tired. I feel like we don't talk about it enough. Like we know us black women are tired, and we get that. We say we tired. Like we don't hold back that we tired. But I feel like a lot of times our black men are being tired and suffering in silence, and that has to be a change too. So we love Dre. He comes out and he's always super transparent. He's always super spot on. And so, what better point of view to get than Dre? So, Dre, are you tired today?
Well, yes, I'm definitely tired.
Why, yes.
I'm
Not just
definitely.
because of the snow tide, because I know you was
Hey,
out here shoveling blocks earlier.
Right.
I got to get back out there later. I might not get out. I might get out there tonight after all of this because I still got like a mountain to do because before the second wave hits, whatever. But yeah, but that's neither here nor there. You're gonna be tired regardless. I'm old, so that's gonna be like it is. But I did check out your piece last week about being tired because the title was very uh uh very curiosity like inducing, like, oh, let me see what they're talking about. So I was on here for a little minute and hearing some of your conversation. I'm trying to reflect on some of the points. I should have wrote it down. But basically what you all were talking about was just the overall feeling and vibe of just being well, for you, I'm speaking, a black woman in your space and what you're enduring, what you're going through and talking about, and just in general in life, the pressures, so to speak. Am I right?
Facts.
Okay, so as I was thinking about. So when I thought about that, I logged in with the purpose of getting into the chat, but I was so busy I couldn't get into the chat part and really contribute. But yeah, I definitely am happy that you invited me, and I appreciate being on here with you guys. I love the energy. I look forward to this conversation. So, so I thought about that. I thought about like, for men and not being stereotypical about anything because it's always like, like being tired because you're tired, whatever. But I thought about my friends. Okay. I thought about my friends, my brothers, a lot of black men in my life that I look at and I see what they do on a daily basis. And I think that the drive to work, the drive to work yourself to the bone,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm,
know, to be a provider. I think that is the most draining part about being, black in this space that I know. I'm speaking on behalf of brothers I see. Every time I talk to them, hey, how you doing? Tired, man, tired. And they tired because they are working. They working because that's all they do. That's all they pretty much know, because that's their livelihood. They have to take care of their families. They have to take care of themselves. They got, put food on, all this stuff. And I think that the drive to be a provider is draining, because if you drive yourself to be a provider so much, but not into the realm of enjoying yourself or enjoying your life or enjoying the fruits of your labor, I think that's very detrimental to us, because I see a lot of people like living to work, but not living to live. If you know what I mean,
Yeah, existing.
Yeah.
They're just existing.
Right. And I wish we had opportunities for everybody to really, branch out, past that point. But I think for me, looking at that is what's on my mind now. Like, I really would love for us to collectively have some more breaks in our lives without having to be, worried about ABC, like, I got my own set of issues going on, but no one can really do nothing about it. So I got to work myself through whatever, I got to do. But that's life. You know, there is no complaining about it. You can't complain, because who's going to be there to really do anything except for you? You're going to take care of you. There are a lot of people, and there are a lot of people who live in the capacity of, I don't want to say dry begging, but yeah, pandering, dry begging, getting, begging for whatever, what I'm saying? Like, nah, I don't do that. I work, I do what I got to do to get my business, and I learn. I learn from Natalie. I learn from you. I learn from a lot of people who I come across to improve my own self. So when I think about being tired, I think about the capacity of just being exhausted, of just not having enough time to really relax, to really enjoy whatever life has to offer across the board, to really, enjoy yourself, even in aspect of doing, like, let's say Natalie loves doing photo shoots and videos and all that stuff like that. Even though that's a passion, that's still work, so it might not be work to her in regards to, like, oh my God, it's a grind, but it's something that she loves to do. But what's after that? What's after that point of when the cameras are off and you chilling? Like, what do you do to really chill past just meditating for the next day? Let's push that forward. So a collective break. And that's, I think, a lot of people got from this pandemic, was a lot of people had the opportunity to take kind of that break. Some of them didn't, because they had to worry about, stuff that, a lot of us didn't, had to worry about. But a lot of us, had took a break and didn't want to come back. So
I
that's
think a
my
lot of us got forced to sit still. I know
right.
for me with the pandemic, there wouldn't be, oh, we gonna talk if not for the pandemic. It was always something written down in a notebook, but it wasn't something that I had actually put to life. And I think sitting here and as somebody that's passionate about communicating with the community, I had to find a way to do that, to do just that, because everything has shifted. I'm a community worker, so I'm working out in the public, and then boom, the pandemic hit and I'm sitting still. So I think for a lot of us, it puts so many things in perspective, not just for not having the time to sit and go, but I think for a lot of people, the recognition of how much you give to like a job and all of these other things.
Mm-hmm.
Then when stuff hits the fan, it's like, hey, if you can't show up for work, then you're out of
Mm-hmm.
here. If you can't do this, then you out of
Mhm.
here. If you can't do this for us, you still gotta come in. You're essential now. Like it's a whole
Right.
pandemic, and you may live in a home with somebody vulnerable, but that don't matter because we need you to show up because you're essential. And
Honey,
I
you could get COVID and they would be like, the day after you got your negative test, all right, come on back.
come on back to work.
We
You
need
you
you. We
do it.
need you.
We need
Right.
you. So I
We
think that
need
that
you.
really put a lot of in perspective for people, and then it applied a pressure for others that maybe didn't have that pressure at first. So, like in the case when you're talking about, you talk to a lot of your guys that are saying all they do is work, 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 right? A lot of moms lost their jobs, had to quit, right? Because they had to stay home with their babies for a year to make sure they was getting up on them computers the next morning. So what did that mean? That mean that the man had to go out and compensate where there was a two income household at first. Now they're down to one. So that means you got to go out there and figure out how to compensate for that. And that's a pressure that we haven't talked about from that perspective, because that's the story for a lot of Black men. Some men were like, hey, if you got to quit and focus on the kids. Right now, during the pandemic, there were a lot of men that didn't want their wives to be exposed either, and was like, stay home and keep the four, and I'll go out. I'll go out and do what it is that needs to be done. And I don't think that we give acknowledgement to that.
Can we pause on that for a second
Yeah.
and like really take a moment to honor like the really dope Black men out there holding their households down? And even if it's not like your household as far as your wife and kids, a lot of really dope Black men stepped it up for their parents during the pandemic. And some people like their community, even if they weren't directly related to them, and like out here really doing it. And though that's really honorable and really amazing, and we love you. So shout out to all of y'all. Dre,
Yes.
you included. Okay, we clapping for you as well. Dope Black man standing on corners, making sure ain't nobody getting mugged at the gas station.
Girl.
You do, brother. Okay.
Yes, that made me so proud. Out
We
here.
need more brothers out there too,
And
because
I mean,
it's
it's a
so.
lot of y'all, and like bad Black men honestly get a really bad rep, but it's so many that I know that I just cannot subscribe to the foolishness, even if I know some of the foolishness. But I know that's not all of y'all. Y'all are out there being amazing. So thank you for that. We really, really, really appreciate you all. But we also know that you tired, like, because those things come with stressors. Like,
Oh yeah, I be.
family is one thing, like having to just be a father after like not knowing how to be a father. You know what I'm saying? Like you ain't get a rule book either. Mothers be tired because we trying to figure this thing out. Kids get on our nerves. But shout out to the dads that's there so they can be tired and kids getting on their nerves too. Okay.
Because they do it. And I don't think that we recognize that enough. I mean, of course, even last time we were having this conversation, mothers be out here holding it down. Like, we are some of the most selfless creatures on the planet. But I think that sometimes we don't realize that there's a selflessness in fatherhood too, and in manhood, and the things that they
Especially for the
do.
ones that show up, you
The
know?
ones that show up and show out for their kids and their family. And it's pretty much there to do and give whatever of them that they do have. And it may not always look like the same type of effort that we put in, but effort all the same. And we absolutely can't get distracted by that. We can't forget that.
But
I
there's
don't
also.
think, go
I'm
ahead,
sorry.
Dre.
No, but it's also and it dawned on me. I thought about some more people, but there's a physical toll that it takes,
Yeah.
and that's the part that worries me is that you know that this type of stuff takes a physical toll, and without enough proper rest, without enough proper uh healing that
Mm-hmm.
takes place, you can drive yourself to an early grave. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
that's my concern. And that's my concern. I'm concerned that we are doing what we're doing for the sake of whatever altruistic purposes we have, but at what cost?
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
At what cost? And that's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm at right now, and I worry about that, which is why I pull back sometimes with my duties and
Mm-hmm.
my stuff, because it's like I just don't feel it. I can't. I gotta sit back. I gotta take care of myself. I gotta do this. I gotta just pull myself back, because if I don't, I'm not good for anybody dead or in a hospital or whatever the case may be.
And
You
self
know
care is not optional. And I think for men, a lot of men think it is. Like to
exactly,
sit down
exactly.
or to even get your nails or your feet done, to get a massage, to breathe and do yoga and meditation and eat right and all the other things. Uh, I think a lot of men think that that's for women. You know what I'm saying? Like
I,
that's
I was I was just thinking that myself. Like you just said that. I'm like, I can't really see so many brothers doing that because that's just not in our wheelhouse. I'm not
but
saying
but
they
hold
can't.
on now, because for
everybody.
this past Father's Day, last year Father's Day, Robert's gift was all about that self-care. So I went and had him get a petty and a mani. It was his first one. He was kind of like, hey, I was like, no, just trust me. You're driving all day, so your driving foot is tired. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about on this one. So he got him a really good mani and petty. He also, I gave him stuff for like his face stuff, like do his beard. Like I got a foot soaker for him. Like I focused on the whole thing. His whole gift was all focused on self-caring and taking care of himself like that. Because you need that. And I feel like most men aren't taught the advantages of stuff. One of the other things I had him do one year before COVID was to go get a reflexology massage. I was like, listen, you have deep tissue, you have Swedish, and then you have reflexology. They all do something a little different, right? But this reflexology, it clears, it like has the blood flowing. They hit those pressure points. Like it really does matter for the body. So I'm going to buy it. I'm going to book it. Just go. Trust me on this. And of course he's like, I ain't finna go. But when that man came back, he was like, yeah.
Thanks.
How many people got Santés in their life though to do that though?
And everybody needs a Santé.
Look, Santé need a Santé. Goddamn,
Santé, absolutely.
I'm just saying, like everything you said sounded great, but my cold thing is, can I get a grilled cheese sandwich at the deal? That's all I'm saying. Like everything you're saying.
The other day, the man wasn't feeling good, and I was like, "You hungry?" He was like, "Yeah, I don't know." I said, "You want a sandwich?" He was like, "Maybe." I said, "You want a grilled cheese?" I was like,
y'all in this grilled cheese.
Okay, I'll make you.
I got some diet cheese, some good old non-dairy vegan cheese.
I knew you gonna say that.
As long as it's vegan, non-dairy, it's gotta be plant-based.
Gotta be plant-based, but I got you.
I ain't mad at you, sis. Look, grilled cheese.
You feel me? The heart of it.
If she make a vegan grilled cheese and it pass my test, then that's all right with me. But I ain't gonna sign off on it yet.
You ain't gonna sign off on it. I gotta bring you
the cow, honey.
No, I gotta taste it. I gotta see if
I got you though.
I need the dairy milk. But I really feel like we need to highlight that more for men. I feel like men don't give themselves the permission to do stuff like that.
And I think come on, it all comes back to that toxic masculinity. Like, to be honest, a lot of things that is for self-care and that is beneficial to relaxation and healing is seen as foreign to men, and it's seen as that's a woman thing. To talk about your feelings and communicate, that's a woman thing. To cry, that's a woman thing. To have moments of self-care, that's a lie. That's a lie before God, as they say.
It absolutely is.
That's a human being thing. We all need to communicate. We all need to cry sometimes. We all need to take a moment to self-care and relax. And like we talked about this on the show before, specifically about like massages and things. That is not a luxury. Black folks in general, male or female, see that type of thing as a luxury. That's good health. Like it helps you flow and everything, muscle tension, which impacts other things in your body because we tired and we stressed out. Our body be tensing in that thing. Now let us get into a car accident or something. We're gonna be hurt worse because our muscles in our body are already so tense.
I've been there. That whiplash ain't no joke.
Like my massage therapist told me that she said, because I'm also very, very flexible, so I don't feel the muscle tension like other people would. So I can be knotted up, but I can still bend and contort and all of that. So she was telling me, she's like, but that's something you're gonna have to be mindful of because you're not gonna feel it like a regular person would. But you are tense. When she got done, she was like, "Did you get into a fight?"
With myself, with this stress.
She's trying to figure out what's going on. I'm like, I do a lot. And so like we have to be mindful, just our day-to-day life. We be tired and stressful. Now imagine being a man on top of that, where you think you can't cry, communicate, talk to nobody, and express yourself, and you
That
feel like you're
you can't
alone,
show that you're tired. That
right?
you can't show
Absolutely. There
that
you go.
you
That's it.
that is the part. Like men don't have the space to show that side of them because they're not supposed to be tired. Like you're not supposed to be tired. And that's
Everybody
something
is
that I had to absolutely be mindful of even within my own household with Robert was, yes, I'm doing around and doing like 1,000 things. And for a while it would be like, but I'm tired too. But now I just be like, you tired? Can I help? Like, what can I do?
we talked about this on the show before. It's not a
Mhm.
competition. It's not
It's
who
not.
does the most to be deserve to be tired. We can all be tired. We can be tired together. Hell, put them kids to sleep. We can come lay down and snuggle. Okay, we can both
Look,
be
we
tired.
all tired. We tired,
Listen, I
tired.
run me a bath and you run me a bath. Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's
Switch
it.
out. Like, we
That's
all
it.
tired because we all do a lot. And I think we have to come to an understanding of mental clarity to move those blocks, because that's the only thing that's going to really help us get untied or some rest, is saying that we need rest.
I think that what's really gonna help us get untired is that one thing we just kind of moved over is that I think a huge issue in our community is that we're yelling at each other about the same things, right?
Mhm.
So Dre was just saying like, um, men are tired. They got to go out and do all of this stuff all the time. They're selfless. They're not self-caring. They're not taking care of themselves. They have all this pressure to perform and do all of these things. And when you talk to a Black woman, she's saying the same thing. So only if we were able to have a moment of empathy with each other and step back and say, to your point, it's not a competition on who
Right.
is more tired and who is not. And it comes from a place of, you know what, I see you tired.
I hear you. I hear
I do.
you.
I hear
I
you. Just
hear you.
kind of
What can I do?
validation and acknowledgement.
Because we
We
all
don't
just want to
do
be
that.
heard.
Do
We
you
we
think
do.
so? Do you think that men acknowledge women being tired more than women acknowledge men
I
being
do
tired?
think we acknowledge each other's pain in that at all. I think that we're in such a state right now of exhaustion individually that, like with any form of communication, when you're arguing with somebody, you can't hear each other, right? It becomes about my point has to be the only point
Heard.
in the room. It has to be like, this is my point and this is what matters. And
Right.
I need my needs to be fulfilled. I need my pain to be acknowledged. I need my frustration to be validated. And so we're not recognizing that we're in the same boat. Like we both feeling the same things and we're fighting ourselves in each other. If we could just be like, I see you tired, or yeah, you up against a lot, or you have a lot going on. If
Because
men,
we're all wrapped up in ourselves.
exactly.
So, like, for Dre, your question, do we think one recognizes more than the other? I don't think we see each other. So what Sante was saying, we don't see each other because we just solely focus, and it builds up what it really is it builds up resentment.
Yes.
Because when you're doing so
Oh
much,
yeah.
the other person is recognizing it, but at the same time, you're not recognizing what that person is doing. All we see is, oh, I'm doing this, and they not saying that, or I'm doing this, and they not, helping, or I'm doing it, and then the other person is doing the exact same thing, and both of them build up resentments against each other to the point that when it is, or when it becomes a conversation, it's not a conversation; it's an argument where you're not listening. But
That is
if we,
absolutely the core of all
that's
of this
it.
resentment on both behalves. I think we're resentful when it comes to our pain with Black
Mm-hmm.
men, and I think Black men are resentful when it comes to their pain with us. And I feel like the more we argue back and forth, the less we're actually seeing the point is that we're going through the same thing. Like we're experiencing the same type of exhaustion, the same type of frustrations, but we just can't find that empathetic spot for us to kind of hear each other. We're not listening. We're kind of just responding. Like, okay, so you tired, but I'm tired too. Do you know I had to do such and such and such and such and such and such thing?
And I
And
think
what
it
did you
goes
have
to
to
what
do?
Dre
And
said. It's like we need to heal, because that resentment comes from a place of not being healed enough to see past your hurt. You know what I'm saying? And when you're healing, or y'all know, I'm gonna bring up one of my favorite books, First Time for 2022.
here we go. I know, right? Nah, didn't you bring it up last time? The four agreements.
I didn't bring it up last
Okay.
time.
I
First
done
time.
went and downloaded his other books on Audible, so
Listen, the four
close.
agreements. Y'all pick it up. It'll help us all live a better life on this planet. I'm trying to tell you, okay? First half of 2022. Four agreements. Go find it. But anyway, it's not about me. Like nothing is personal. So if this person isn't seeing what I'm doing, it's not personal. I can't take it personal. And if I need him to acknowledge it, or if I need her to acknowledge it, why can't I just come to them and say what I need to say? Because communication is key, right? So say it before it becomes a resentment. And saying it with love and making sure that everything you say comes from love. Because we shouldn't be trying to say things to hurt somebody or to anger somebody. We should be saying it so that it can be heard and understood, and then progress can be made afterwards. I think like that's the foundation of it for me. So if I'm cooking and cleaning every day, say I don't work and I'm home with this baby, and I'm tired in a mug, and then he come home and he sit up, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know what's going on in his day-to-day life. I don't know if work is terrible because we ain't talking about it. I just know when he get home, I'm tired. And when he get home, he tired. But I'm not acknowledging his tired because I'm tired and these kids get on my nerves and I've been cooking. You got dinner and can I have a moment? You know what I'm saying? But he's saying the same thing. Because little do he know, while I was at home with this baby stressed out and tired and cleaning up and everything else, he was at work dealing with racism and vicarious comments for, you know what I'm saying, from co-workers and all of that other stuff. Then he darn near got in the car accident on the way home and then get, you know what I'm saying, and all this other stuff. And so by the time he get here, he want peace. And by the time he gets here, I want peace. You know what I'm saying? So that's where that conversation needs to come through. And it's like, it's not, you don't acknowledge, I'm here cleaning up all of that because he dealing with his own thing I have no idea about because I ain't even asked. That's a conversation like, hey, you know what? I'm really tired when you go home from work. You know, and I would love a break from the baby for like 15 minutes to take a shower or something. You know what I'm saying? That's
So
a conversation.
I agree with you with that type of communication, but I wanted to go back to one of the things you said when it comes to acknowledgement of what each other is doing. I think that we have to unlearn a lot of stuff that we've been told over time is the way of doing or acknowledging stuff. So for, you know, a lot of people say, well, it's about your love language. It's about how you process all of these things, which I agree with that. I do think that
Everybody's
everybody
different as well.
process things differently. But I think sometimes also acknowledgement gets weaponized. It gets used as a bargaining tool or a strategy to kind of beat the other person over the head with stuff. And this is what I mean by that. So I feel like when it comes to acknowledgement, sometimes I feel like as a Black woman and as a Black woman that has been guilty of this at a time or so, doing something, and then if someone gives you that acknowledgement, it becomes more like, because I do this and you know that I do this and I'm doing more than you, and see, when you don't do this and you gave me, you know, my props that I'm doing that. And we can't do that when an acknowledgement comes. When we have a situation where we're being acknowledged for putting in effort, for going above and beyond, and for doing that stuff, we just need to feel grateful that that has happened. But sometimes we get a little arrogant when it comes to that stuff.
That's the validation era that we're in right now. Before it wasn't that prevalent where we needed that kind of validation. We kind of just knew and understood, and it was an unspoken type thing. Now we have to hear it. Now we've been conditioned to want to hear it because that's the way it's been programmed into us. If we're not hearing it, if we're not feeling it, then it's not real. As opposed to just having that connection with whoever you're with. To have that understanding, I shouldn't have to always hear it. It'll help now because we're conditioned to it now. So I can't tell nobody not to do that anymore. But yeah, I want to hear you're doing a good job, or I see you're doing this. That's what you're programmed for now. Anything else, you'd be pissed off. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's where it is at now. But that's because our society has grown to be accommodating to that for a lot of reasons, because some people need validation more than others. Some people can function without it. Some people are more humble about it, but there's some people that crave it, and there's some people that functions better off of that.
I
at
think we
work.
all need it though. I think
We
that
all
that's
do. We all
something we
do, but
need.
we
Yeah,
all
I
need different
think
levels. You know what I'm
we
saying?
need
Like you
different
all pour
levels
into
of it.
me, and I
Yeah.
sit back and I be like, all like, humble and blushing and everything like that. Not saying I don't love it and appreciate it, but that's just my response of it
I
Right.
because
get it.
that's how I am, and I've always been like that. I do a lot of stuff that people give compliments for, and I appreciate it, but I don't know how else to take it other than saying thank you and kind of sheeping back because it's like, as you know, I get bashful as opposed to be like dun, 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 dun. It's more like
Da-da-da.
But that's back to the point of using it as like a weapon at times. Like if someone does give you some acknowledgement, you are supposed to take that with humility and gratitude.
Yeah.
And I feel like at times that's not what happens. I feel like now it is dun, 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 I'm super this or I'm super that. And I feel like that then in turn triggers people to not want to give you that and that validation, right? Because it's like I don't want to tell you this because now your head is going to be blown up, and then how you going to it wants to tell you that, or if I tell you this, how are you going to take that? So that's
mm,
part of how I mean about weaponizing it. And then also I feel like sometimes people aren't giving validation as a strategy also to kind of keep somebody from feeling too much about themselves, or because they're dealing with their own inadequacies or they're struggling with their own insecurities. And really, when it comes to validating each other, if we remove our own personal feelings out of it completely and just focus on what and how good it could be to hear it, like what Dre was saying, how good it could be for each other to just be made valid. Because if we're being honest, as Black people, we have had to scrap and scrape by on the smallest little pieces of validation, right?
Mhm.
uh, we that has been something that we crave because we didn't really get it. We never really got it. So it's not productive for us not to validate each other. Like that's what we deal with in the world. So your home, your community, your village is supposed to be that place where you get that validation from, you get that acceptance, you get that empathy, you get that understanding. And if we take that away from each other, what do we have? Like, because the rest of the world doesn't like to do that. You got to have a certain amount of money. You got to have a certain amount of followers. You got to be a certain amount of pretty. You got to be a certain amount of skinny to get that type of validation. But we should be just giving that to each other, and we don't. And we especially don't always do it for Black men, if we're being honest. Black men really don't get a lot of validation. And a lot of it comes from trauma that most of us have from other Black men. So whether it's fathers not being present or some sort of other trauma that you endured from a Black person, um, we don't feel comfortable giving Black men validation to stuff at times. And I do think that that's part of why y'all get so tired and get so exhausted. Now, I'm not a Black man, so I'm gonna try to back up. But what do you think about that, Dre? Do you feel like Black men get validated enough for it all?
I think we do now, but it's not uh it's not at a level I think it could be. And I want to
Mm,
say should be. I say it could be because you can't force anybody to do anything, that they're not going to willing to do. It's just everybody's not woke enough to have to give that that kind of love. I mean, they're just not for whatever reason. When you go on social media and look at people's posts about their relationships and how they love a man and they pour into their man, everything like that, that's cute, that's good. um but in real life, how often does that really play out, you know after the cameras are off, so to speak,
facts.
in what capacity? And then on top of that, once again, how the men accept it. Some men, they take it, or they may or may not know. You know, if Natalie make a post about me but don't tag me, I don't know nothing about it, right? So you could say all day, oh, Natalie loves her man making her vegan waffles, and
They be
all this
slapping though. They be slapping.
good stuff and
Wait a
everything.
minute. Vegan
But
waffles? I know nothing of this.
Girl, and
no,
them pancakes, you better ask Jaleel.
You owe me some vegan dishes anyway, sis. I'm willing to collect now. I want my food.
Okay.
So if she's gushing about that on social media, you have to ask the question: how much is she gushing with her man about that? You know, and is it equal or greater? You know, I say that because a lot of people, post a lot of stuff but don't really back it up in real life, and then or whatever case may be. But I'm speaking on in general terms. I mean, it's literally on a case by case basis, because I know a lot of people that pour into their men. I know a lot of sisters that pour into their men, and validate and acknowledge and things like that. But then there are some I seen more. I've seen some now more than I did back then, because people are changing their ways and everything like that. But I just individual, I see it, but overall, no. Then I go back into that conversation we had a long time ago about when that whole conversation about protecting women, which means that when somebody says I don't feel protected, automatically men who feel like they're protectors feel like they're not being acknowledged.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I get what you're saying, that you don't feel protected because of what something else is happening to somebody else, and you put that on for yourself, or something happened. But what about the men in your life that are there? When you say that out loud, what about their feelings? What about their acknowledgement? What about their understanding of, well, shit, if she pick up the phone and say we there, you know what I'm saying? So what part am I missing? It's a lot of stuff that goes over people's head because they just forget that other people can hear you. Other people have feelings, and you have to be careful about your words, because you can't say all niggas ain't blank when that ain't the case. Choose your words. Them niggas over there. Somebody over there. You know what I'm saying? Somebody over there. This particular set, you got to be more specific, because if you spell out specifics, then you have more people that will align to your cause, as opposed to alienating the whole section by saying all or some or whatever. No, be specific. Which dudes are you talking about? Who hurt? Who's the one that did this to you to make you say this statement? Let's call them out. Let's make them uncomfortable. Don't make everybody feel uncomfortable for what they did, because they didn't do it. They're the ones that come to your rescue. They're the ones that come to your aid. They're the ones that will be there for you. Don't say, men no. Which particular men you talking about? You talking about John? Oh yeah, John ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about that.
I would be devil's advocate for just a minute. John may not be shit, but what are the good guys doing about John? Ain't shit.
Well, but unless they know,
I was waiting to throw that in there, because
that's the thing. But and that's another conversation to the fact, though, because yes, brothers got to take care of that too. But if they don't know, if it's not acknowledged and broadcast, then how can you expect men to respond? Because then in our circle, and then also,
but wait,
real quick,
when they acknowledge it and broadcast it, it gets looked at as male bashing.
No. Well, because you're male, general. No. It all depends on the person. It all depends on the person and how it's being said. You're right. It all depends on the person. It all depends on the person. It all depends on the situation.
Okay, so
on the person. But then on top of that, sometimes men check each other in private spaces, as opposed to public spaces.
Okay.
Or
and
both.
That's something that my brother has said before, because I've had this conversation with him a lot about generalizations and how it is a huge problem. Because to your point, as a Black woman and as a dark-skinned Black woman, I hate when I'm grouped into certain stereotypes just because I am a Black-skinned dark woman. And I have to be like, look, that's not all of us now. Like, some of us be like that, but I am not like that. And so I can understand the frustration when, you're hearing this, that all men are this way, or even most, because when I would change it and be like, well, most men or a good majority of men, my brother would still be like, nope.
Just say something.
Just say some. There's a few. There are a bunch.
There are a percentage. We don't know.
There is a percentage. But when you generalize like that, it does essentially take away from the fact that those ones that are not in that, and you just kind of group everybody
It shuts down the listener is what it does. So
it does.
It's like when he hears that, he automatically gets upset or offended or feels some kind of way about it, and men do in general, like your brother. And so like when I've been hosting for like over 15 years at this point. And so when I initially started and my mentors would teach us, they're like, don't generalize when you're hosting. And that's one of the first things that they teach us. So a lot of times y'all might hear me say, well, in my opinion, or these are the opinions of Natalie Battles, you know what I'm saying?
Right. My experiences say,
right, this is not the thought process of, oh, we're going to talk or whatever else I'm talking about, or where am I speaking? Because that's what's been ingrained in me as far as hosting. Don't overgeneralize because it shuts down the audience. Because
right.
if that's not them and you just lump them in that group, now they're like, I'm gonna listen to this, you know what I'm saying, or whatever it may be. But just in life, we shouldn't overgeneralize because nothing is just black and white. It's a whole lot of gray area to stuff. And
it's a lot of gray area. We don't all fit in the box. We're not all one monolith. We're not all the same. And I think that when it comes to Black men, you do get generalized a lot. I think we all get generalized a lot. But when it comes to the fact of Black men don't do this and Black men don't do that, the few that are doing that tend to become the representation of the bunch, because there isn't all Black men. But also what I was explaining to my brother when we had the conversation about, for instance, Black women and saying they don't feel protected, which we're going to have a whole show on talking about and breaking down why Black women say this, because I feel like this especially gets lost. It's like a certain conversations that keep coming up and cycling in my timeline on things is Black women protection, it's submission and polygamy. I don't know what it is about these three topics, but they just ever so often they are just up and high and they running all up and through my feeds. When it comes to Black women saying that and not feeling protected by Black men, we're saying that there are still way too many Black men out here that don't see Black women as part of their village.
Mm-hmm.
So we are all a village, right? So if you want to, I know Nat loves going back and talking about, how we used to live and our ancestors and our roots. Well, there were villages, right? And there were certain things and certain levels of protection that happened. You didn't mess with the women in the village. So if this woman was part of your tribe, then you protected this woman. And I think for Black women, they don't feel part of the tribe. They don't feel part of the tribe, for one. And then they feel unprotected against Black men. So it's like, who protects me against you? Because Black men, a lot of Black men are doing things that are not, good for us. Like I've shared before.
My brother actually just said that to me the other day. We were just in the kitchen talking about something. And he was like, what's really sad to me, sis? And I'm like, what's that? And he says that Black women aren't protected with Black men, and they have to fear us.
Black women are terrified, and I think that all of this is connected. Even when we talk about the submission talk, which is why I've been trying to explain to people that if a Black woman felt all of the things and the advantages that a lot of men that talk about submission, they talk about it in this way of protection and healthiness and happiness. But if it was really that way and it felt that way, I know the majority of Black women would jump on the bandwagon. They wouldn't. We don't want to have to be independent. We don't want to have to do it and be strong on our own. I have joked in the past and been like, I want to be weak today. I don't want to be a strong Black woman today. Leave me alone. I want to be weak today, and I want to cry and I want to power. I don't want to get up and tough through it. And I know not today. I just want to be. I want to curl up in a ball and cry today, and that's okay. If women felt like they could come into a space like that, they would happily jump into that. So if you're seeing so many Black women in protest, in resistance of this, when do we have the conversation about accountability and the why? And that doesn't mean that all Black men are like that. I have some spectacular Black men around me. I have grown up one of the few now. So I want to make sure I put that in there. I'm one of the few Black girls, Black women that grew up with the love, protection, acceptance, and validation from multiple Black men. I didn't have to just have one, I had multiple Black men in my life that raised me and were instrumental in formative years of my life where I got that validation. But that is not the narrative for a lot of us and for the majority of us. So when they're saying we don't feel protected, it's who protects me against the people that hurts me the most, and they look like me. They look like me. You. We share the same hue, and you're hurting me. So who protects me from that? And so I think that we also still, as because that's a valid point. I feel like that as a whole, as a village, Black men aren't supporting or protecting Black women as a village, but I also feel like there's still so many that freaking are. You just talked about how Dre and his guys are pumping gas at the gas stations. They, standing on the corners, making sure they're giving safe passage. Not too long ago, I saw a story on Black fathers patrolling the halls at schools because
Yeah,
there was too many fights and things going on
yeah,
at school. And so all the Black dads was like, hey, we're going to circle these halls. We're going to
Love
get these
that.
kids
Yeah.
into the classrooms. We're going to try where we can to alleviate disagreements so there's not fights. That story got like this much attention and then it was gone. But the stories that we highlight a lot are deadbeat dads that ain't doing what they supposed to do. But there's a billion dads that's out here that is. But what we see and what the media focus on and what we allow them to focus on is that side of us, not the wonderful things that Black men are doing and how much they are taking care of the village, how much they are protecting women. Like I feel like Dre and his brothers being out there patrolling the streets, especially when at a time where it was carjackings and all of these things, like putting themselves on the line to show up and be out there for
Right.
the community and for Black women. That should have been plastered everywhere. I should have seen that recycled over and over again of people sharing, but that isn't the stuff that we focus on. So for all purposes, it seems like Black men ain't doing nothing. But y'all doing a whole damn lot. And we don't really give y'all the validation and the credit for that stuff. And that needs to change. I can understand that exhaustion you talked about with your guys going out to work. I write little messages on Robert's cup for
Oh,
coffee. So
come
this
on.
week I've been putting little things on
Oh,
there.
why?
Really reading them. I've been putting little things on there. So like today I wrote on his coffee cup, I love you, have a good day. Send me a song request. It's one of the reasons I fell in love with you. I got
oh,
I got 2 songs, like an hour or so after that. I was like, okay, he reading these coffee cups. I see. But I always tell him, thank you for paying the rent. Thank you for taking care of this. Thank you for getting that. Thank you for doing
It's
this.
that
I
part for me
appreciate
though,
you
sis.
doing that.
It's a thank you for the things that's even expected. Like you
Because
expect your husband to pay the rent.
And
Like
I'm not
you expect
necessarily
that.
thanking him for the actual act of doing it. I'm thanking him for the fact I don't have to worry because
But
I
see, that's
know
the thing.
he's
That's
gonna
what I
do it.
mean. Like it's that part. Like that's the beautiful thing because we take people for granted. We
That's
take the small things that they do for granted. And when we're talking about men and why they tired, because men are supposed to wash your car and pump the gas and make sure you good and pay the bills and all of that good jazz that men are supposed to do. But every man ain't doing that. Let me tell you something right now.
they're
Okay.
not. They're not. They're
Testify.
not.
Every man ain't out here doing that. So when you have a man that's handling his business and handling the responsibilities, don't take that for granted because that man is tired. That's one of them pressures that Dre were talking about that the man has. So thank that man for them small things, because in the long run they aren't small.
They're not.
Thank
I
that
know
man
what he
for
had.
that.
I know what he goes through every day. I know he goes to work and he works in customer service as a branch manager. So some days he getting people that got their shoulder on their ass and it don't got nothing to do with him. And they snapping off at him and he just doing his job. I know that, he was out today in a blizzard when I really want him to be able to stay home, and work from home. But he had to get out early in the morning and track through that snow, then get to his office, make it accessible for business. And then he had to deal with attitudes all day and everything else all day. So why I'm thanking him for enduring that, because if I know how I feel at work when my job is driving me crazy and I'm feeling unappreciated, I'm feeling ran over, I do that for the betterment of my family so that we can have and acquire certain things. So why wouldn't I acknowledge that he's going through that every single day? Like, he's doing that too. So thank you for doing that. You want peach cobbler? Let me make you a peach cobbler. Let me
And
let
that's
me
just
let
always
you
bring
up.
it back to like, do as unto others as you would want done unto you. So that goes back to we be so wrapped up in what we do that we can't see what the other people do, or what we're going through that we can't see what the other person going through. If you want to be thanked for washing them dishes or for cooking that denzin, then you need to thank him for getting up and taking out the garbage or doing the things that he's doing. And like, if we just make that a habit, then it won't be a tiresome task to do it. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying?
I wish I had my triangle so I can reach. No, no, no. I think I decided on the symbols. I want the
Oh yeah, hold on, I
symbols. I
got you.
said no try. I need some action. Hell, I might surprise you and come with a whole drum set. Girl, don't get me started. I might need a whole marching band. A
What is wrong
whole
with you?
band. I'm trying to tell
Dre,
you.
what you coming with the harmonica?
No.
No.
Can you play a sax? Can you play a sax
Dre,
drum?
she took the wind instrument up a notch.
In my
She
heart.
said that.
In my heart. I can fake it. I can fake it like they did it, my favorite video, We
Somebody
Don't Need
just
a
play the
Hero.
track and move your fingers.
I
My
think
video,
it's
I
a
can
little
I
bit
can
more
play
than
it. Yeah, just do all of that. I can play all of that.
okay, we'll find a track for you to play over it, and you kind of be like sax syncing, like lip syncing. We gonna do sax
Okay.
syncing. Right, I got you.
But I really want to say this though. Dre brought up a point at the beginning when he first started speaking, when we first got started in the conversation, and that was like how we live to work instead of work to live. And when it comes to us as a society and being tired, um, that's for male and female. We all are living in that type of realm because that's what society has brought up for us. And then again, going back to Western civilization, we literally have to because we got bills to pay, we got everything cost, okay? But we weren't created to do that. Like, God ain't spending his or her time molding out all of these beautiful individuals, creating the universe to be as perfectly balanced as it is for us to be the perfect amount away from the sun, not to be burnt to a crisp, but for life to flourish. For us to go get up and go to work and be miserable at work, and then come home and then be miserable at home, and then get up and do it again the next day. That's not why God did that. That's not why we're here. Like, that don't make no sense. I wouldn't. That's like, no. So when we think about it, one, we talked about healing, how we need to heal in order to truly see each other and then correct the things that we tired about. Because like Sante said, we all tired about the same things for real.
Same exact things, and
We
we
tired
just
about the
battling
same
with each
things.
other, and we feeling the same stuff. And
And
if
we
only
feeling
we
the
had a
same
moment.
way. And that's another reason why, I don't knock nobody's thing, and I ain't in nobody else's relationship. Love who you love, no matter who you love, long as you loving them right, and that love is loving you back the way you're supposed to be loved. So I ain't knocking nobody's nothing. But in my opinion, going back to that, okay, black love is so beautiful specifically because we can identify like no other. You know what I'm saying? You can say certain things, don't have to explain it from coming from a black man and a black woman. You know what I'm saying? And so with that, we need each other We need each other. And if you know, if it's a black man and a black man or a black woman and a black woman, shoot, even more so. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, we can identify with each other. So we need to make sure that y'all like to say, I know my men folk really like to say it, be each other's peace. Like for real. And
Yeah.
we can do that if we move out of our own way. If we stop overthinking it. If we open up our minds and our hearts to really hear and listen, both parties, male and female, we can get to a point where we can truly communicate, and we ain't got to be so tired, because a lot of times we tired more so mentally than we are physically. But when you mentally tired and stressed out, that manifests physically. And so like Dre was saying earlier, he's concerned for his brethren because they out here holding in all their stress, plus working physical jobs and all these other things, and then battling mental stress, and they suffering from fatigue, and he don't want them to die. We did the panel discussion with the Healing Academy for the father and son event, and Dre helped put it together. We had an amazing panel. It was super dope, and that's what came up in that conversation. One young man that was on there with his dad, and he was scared, like legit terrified that his father was going to die, that he was going to work himself to death. He was scared. And one day he said his father was at the desk, he was working, and the dad didn't understand. He thought his son was just being extra, but his son was legit terrified because he fell asleep at the desk. And one of his son's concerns was that my dad's gonna die at this desk. Like he's always working, he's gonna die at this desk. And he fell asleep, and when he fell asleep, his phone fell on the ground, and so it made a big boom. So his son come running in the room, and he's laid across the desk sleep, and you know what I'm saying. So he's scared. So then the dad wakes up like, "Boy, I'm good. I just fell asleep, blah blah blah," and brushed him off. But during that conversation was the first time he ever heard his son say really how he felt, how terrified, and that it was his fear that he was going to die at that death. So it made him understand why he reacted the way he did when he fell asleep and the phone fell. But that's, for me, that speaks to what Dre was talking about, how men work so hard and hold so much in, and they take it on the weight of the world, their jobs, their family, they community, and all of it is, to the fact that they can literally die from the stress. So
And
when I
what
hear
example is that setting for little boys growing up into men? Like if they're seeing their fathers lack self-care, if they're seeing their fathers run themselves ragged, that is seeing into their futures, right? And so how do they feel optimistic about manhood? How do they feel excited about manhood when it looks burdenful for from their perspectives?
and we said the same thing about the women, with little girls looking at women and mothers like, I don't want that. That's what it looks like.
Listen,
I
I
don't
don't want
want
to do
it.
that. I ain't trying to ever grow up. So, Dre, we've been trying to keep our shows down because we'll be on here for hours and hours. But
Yeah.
I still want to be able to hear more before we end our show this evening on men being tired. Why y'all tired? Is there anything else that we as a community need to be aware of when it comes to the tiredness of Black men?
And I'm gonna add this.
Go ahead. What can we do
How can
different?
we help? Like
Yeah.
what can we do as, I'm gonna say specifically, yes, as a community as a whole, but as women specifically, what can we do to help y'all? Because we don't want y'all tired.
You know
We don't
what?
want
I
y'all out here.
think I can't. I don't think I can answer all that by myself because I don't have a lot of stressors that other men do with the family piece and everything. Um. So what I can do actually, what I should have done earlier, but the snow messed me up. I wasn't thinking about it, but I could actually put out there, my platform, and ask that question and get some responses back,
Can we do
and
a part tree? A part tree?
I get some. Try to get some responses back because for the most part, male pride, male strength, male ego, we endure like you endure. But it's different. It's the same, but it's still different.
Yeah.
That being said, because we don't have or we don't utilize our outlets for that emotion, for that, being able to relate and say I am tired, unless you have that Natalie or Sante in your life that be able to recognize and help you. a lot of men may not have that, or may have access to that. We're not talking about everybody's not married. Everybody ain't got a girlfriend. Some people just or whatever, but some people just need to be more mindful of just their friends, because when we look at people with suicide and doing things like that and unanswered, these people who take themselves out, and we think they're okay, and they're not. And then we always say it's okay to say I'm not okay. We say check on your strong friends. We say all of that stuff. To this day, I'm just using myself as an example, not trying to get no phone calls. But when people say check on your strong friends, I don't get those calls. I'm just saying in general. Okay.
Well, I don't call, but I'll be
Do they
showing
think?
you.
Well, no, I say that. I say that.
Messenger.
No, I say that because they think everybody thinks everybody's okay.
Yeah.
We just
No
assume.
one ever. I say that because to say everybody thinks everybody okay. It's only a few people every now and again, and that's because of the bond that you have. They might reach out and say, "I'm just checking on you," or whatever case may be. That happens. So I'm not saying I don't get no phone call. Let me back that up. I do
Look,
get.
you about to get yourself in a whole pickle. Like,
Right.
That
I
man
had
speak his
texts.
truth. Y'all
Just
better
talk
not
to
call
me.
him
I'd be like,
nothing
no, I'm okay. Nah.
now.
But but that's the thing. You'd be surprised how many people just assume you're okay. You'd be surprised how many assume, or on top of that, if you do check on your friends, how many actually open up to you and be legit about it. That's another one thing too. A
it's
lot
a
of people,
two-way street because you have to be willing to open up when somebody reaches out, because there's nothing worse than somebody trying to be there for you and they kind of reject it, because that's
and
what
that's what I had to learn. That's one of the things that I had to learn myself. So I can't afford that luxury anymore of being able to brush you off, and be like, oh, I'm okay. Are you really okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay, because your walls get up there. Like, I don't want you digging. But if they're asking, it's okay to share because that's why they're there. They can only take on what they can take on, and I've learned to embrace that part. That's a part that I have to learn how to embrace and actually utilize, because a lot of people do check. A lot of people say what's going on, and I'll be like, I'm good. Even when you're at work, you're at work, you go through your day and you're like, man, I'm just, how you doing? I'm all right. Are you really all right? Because you don't really want to talk about it, because it ain't it's no one likes to bring anybody down. And you don't want to also listen to that friend that's open to always talking about their problems, and they bring you down. Because they always got something going on with their life,
Right.
I got, and then you don't want to be the receptacle for that, because that's draining for you as well. If someone always dumping on you their their bad luck stories and everything like that, that's heavy for you, because it's like, I ain't want to hear all that, but
and
I
it's
guess
kind of
that.
like, it's such a weird thing to navigate, and that's probably one of the things that I learned the most in the last few years, right? Because I'm the strong friend that everybody thinks is okay all the time, because I'm always showing up for everybody else. So it's like, oh, she's
Right,
fine because
right.
she's here with me and she's talking to me about my issues. And then there's been a few times where I have had my rough patches in life, and I've needed to just kind of talk to somebody, just kind of get it out. And everybody protects their peace. Like, once they finally get their peace, they so protective of their peace, even if they done disturbed yours 15 million times, right? So what I've had to
That
learn,
part though, because you supposed to protect your peace,
but
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 so my point is that I've had to learn how to both have a balance, right? So when I do need to talk, that I have that moment and I talk. But then I'm recognizing that I don't always need to talk. Sometimes I just need to be active. And I think that that's the big difference. And once you kind of get to a point of understanding, like, yes, you do deserve to protect your peace. So if you do reach out a hand and let me have a moment where I can vent and unload and talk to you, then I need to be proactive the rest of the way. Like, you provided me that listening ear, and I need to figure something else out. So whether that's try to resolve whatever issues are occurring in life, or that's to find a therapist, because I ain't gonna say it no more, but I'm gonna say it again. Therapy is important. It matters, and we should be willing to do it. It is caring for yourself. It helps. So then I need to be proactive in trying to find an outlet elsewhere where I'm not always um, dumping on you. Because if someone cares about you, they're going to want to fix your problems. And
Yep.
when you feel hopeless, they hopeless right with you. So
Yep.
they don't know what to do. And that's an impossible position to put somebody in. But to Dre's point of, I think that us as Black women need to give Black men the space to be tired. We need to give Black men the space to have emotions, to be authentically vulnerable, right?
Yeah, I was thinking
Because
in my head, I was thinking that word vulnerable.
we
Yeah.
I
don't
was
we
thinking
don't
vulnerable as
look,
well.
we don't give them the space to be vulnerable with us. Like, I know a lot of men, I've heard so many men talk
And they
about
don't want to be vulnerable with their boys.
they don't. But here's the thing, they shouldn't have to, right? Because when we talk about
I think they should. I think that should become a new norm where guys accept other guys and their feelings and share their
that
feelings.
should be a norm, but what I'm saying is in
opinion.
certain things, right? In certain types of vulnerability, there's a reason why we are here with them. Like, we can give them a certain perspective, a certain nurturance that may not come from their brothers, right? From their homies. And so I feel like men look for that. And I think sometimes, back to weaponizing certain things, what happens is that women looked at as, I ain't your mama, or I ain't raising you, or be strong, and I have to tough it up, and I can't do this, and I can't, so you can't.
Can
And
I
we
just can I just right in that moment, because I just got a flashback of wanting to reach out and touch somebody that wasn't even there. Just put
You
the
okay?
apple ring to the cheek. Just
Oh my
right
goodness.
there.
Ain't nobody on this here live now, is it?
You said what?
Ain't nobody on this here live that we.
No, not nobody on the line. I ain't slapping nobody on the live. Y'all good.
No,
But
we
it
good,
just
we good.
reminded me of Dre when I wasn't gonna slap Dre, but when Dre said
I was saying,
earlier on, not in this conversation, but one of our earlier conversations about how he was talking to a woman and she like emotionally wasn't there and was like looking at him like he was crazy because he wanted to talk. I almost said a word right then and called that young lady something. Because for me, I'm tired. I'm tired of that. That's what I'm tired of. I'm tired. Women, listen to me. Today, this day on 2/2/22.
the 2
I heard that.
the 22, the 2
At 9/22 on 2/2/22.
throw it in there. We should have did this at 2/22 for the 2/22/22.
You
or
feel
the
me? Because we're gonna manifest
2/22.
healing for our brothers and our
Amen.
sisters out here in
All
the
the
world. We're
twos.
gonna
All the
manifest
twos.
growth for our brothers and our sisters today on this day. Okay, we're gonna manifest on this day. It's a powerful day. But women, I need y'all to hear me and hear this clear, okay? I'm sick and tired of men having to deal with the foolishness. Why can that man not come to you and say how he feel when he's supposed to be your man? Why can't your son come talk to you about his feelings and then you wondering later on why he a little monster? Why? Come on, women, stop the foolishness. We have to allow these men, boys, others to have feelings, express their feelings, understand their feelings. Social emotional learning is very important.
You know that's my deal. You know how
Girl,
I feel with that.
it's very
Intelligence
important.
is importante, okay?
And as women, it's confusing than a mug because one moment we like, why are you talking to me about this? Why you in your feelings? Why you but then when you in your feelings, he wants you want him to understand you and support you and be emotionally there for you. He ain't got it. Cause you didn't shamed it out of him because when he was trying to talk to you, you ain't want to hear him. Stop just ring to the cheek.
Not just didn't want to hear him. You knocked him down.
You shut it down and you belittle that man for feeling how he feel. He's a human being. We don't want robots. I'm gonna say this. I don't want no robot. I don't want no robot. I don't want no man out here, he man, and feeling like he gotta be. No, don't bring that toxic masculinity over here. You need to cry. You need to cry. You need to say something. Say something. And I feel like that needs to become the norm, because if not, you're gonna keep having men tired because they can't say what they need to say because they don't have a safe space to. And that's all. Cause you know that I just thought about that and got mad all over.
You know how I feel about that, because I am raising an emotionally intelligent little man, and when he's at 11, he gonna tell me how he feels. He gonna take a deep breath if he feel himself getting too
Come
upset,
on.
and then he gonna say, "This is how I feel," and he gonna lay it all out. And I'm
Me
like,
too.
"This was."
Because now we can move forward from that. Let's analyze it and come
Absolutely.
up with some options.
Look, and so and we need to be able to make that space for them, and not just for our mates, but also for our children, because we do that to
They
our
grow
little
up
children.
and they date women, and I'm gonna be the one looking at you like it's your fault.
Look, you know my mission, sis. I want to make sure
Be like, where
that
your mama
my
at?
kids are not the kids as adults that people look up and be like, "Oh Lord, your mama done effed you off."
You hear me? You hear me talking to you?
That
Because my
can't even
3-year-old gonna tell me what's up. And if he can't figure it out and tell me I don't know, I'm gonna be like, well, you gotta think about it. Check in.
something.
We work on deep breathing.
Hmm.
Listen.
Hmm.
Because that's human. We keep, in this society specifically here in America, but in other places as well, but in general, we keep breaking it down to the male female. But it's humanity. It's human.
That's it. That's all. And we have stripped each other's humanity little by little, and that's why we all freaking tired. That's why we all tired.
We all die. We gonna
Well,
fix it up.
we gonna fix it. That's why we talking. That's why we talking.
Fix it.
That's why we talking. That's the whole point. Is that, when we start really breaking down the generational traumas that we're constantly living in and passing down, that is the only way we're going to get better. It's not enough to talk about financial literacy. It's not enough to just talk about history. It's not enough to talk about roots and ancestry. We need to talk about our trauma too, and so that we can actively heal past it, because just sweeping it under the rug is getting high now. It's getting pretty, and we all tripping
It's at the top
over
of
it.
Everest about now.
Look, it's too high, and this is how we're gonna ultimately get better. So we try to make these conversations as light as we can, so that people aren't exhausted by the end, but it's still getting their healing. But we
Yeah.
gonna fix it.
Oh, we gonna talk about it.
We gonna fix it. We gonna talk and fix it at the same
And
time.
we gonna fix it.
So Dre, since you are back with us today, although you still ain't completely claimed your throne as
Your throne.
the third host of we
Our
gonna
male host.
we'll just keep begging you to come on when we
Oh,
do,
goodness.
when you ain't Dreezy Clausing. What do you want to leave us with when it comes to why black men is tired?
I want to say, excuse me. Hold on.
Talking
I
about
want to
some Kool-Aid.
say, in closing, I want to say that as always, communication is always the key, but also to feel comfortable being open to communicate. That's the main thing, is being comfortable. A man, or anybody for that matter, but I'm speaking for myself as a man. I'm not trying to compare, but as a man, if you're not comfortable with who you're with on any level, to be able to be open, there's nothing you can do about that. A woman has to recognize that, and not say have to make them feel comfortable, at least acknowledge something. It has to be some kind of acknowledgement somewhere. I can't say, well, you have to do this, because it's a two-way street. And that's why I say communication is important. But recognize the signs. If you're not talking about anything substantial or deep other than what's for dinner, and anything intimate, without talking about thoughts and feelings, if you're not having a conversation about thoughts and feelings on some level deeper than I'm feeling you, You know, like, girl, I'm
Mm.
feeling you. I'm feeling you in that outfit. Oh, you look good tonight. Or I'm, whatever you say that's like surface level. If you're not getting to a deep conversation, then not only are you cutting yourself short, fellas, but you're also eliminating opportunity for her to figure you out. And on top of that, if she's trying to figure you out, for the most part, if you don't have nothing to hide, it's okay to share. If you have something to hide, then that's a whole other conversation I'm not going to get into it with, because it's a case by case situation. I ain't gonna do with that. But I'm speaking from experience, because I've held back a lot of myself in a lot of conversations because I was I wasn't ready to share. But then I realized if I really want to be with somebody and I want to make it work, I have to share. I have to talk about my past feelings, my past relationships on some level, and just be open. Don't be a guard all the time. And so that's the main thing. That's the main thing I'm coming from. Just being able to share and be open. So I'm just tired of us being in our own way. I'm tired of us having to be defensive about being vulnerable. It's really weird. I gotta feel like I gotta prove myself after like I'm being open, but I still gotta be guarded. It's like you can't do both. You can't do both. It's exhausting to do both, for that matter. I realize that it's exhausting to do both. Pick a lane. If you're going to be guarded, be guarded. It is what it is. But you're going to be vulnerable. You got to let the chips fall where they may,
That.
and then go from there. And that's what I had to learn how to do. So, speaking from experience, of trying. I can't say that a relationship didn't work because I didn't try. I want to make sure that I'm trying. So that's where I'm at.
That.
Ashay. Come
That.
on, Dre.
I don't have my symbols yet. They come.
Come on. Big facts. I'm
Big
for it.
facts. And hopefully we'll be having more conversations on why we tied. Because we got a lot of reasons to be tied as a community, but we got a lot of reasons to get untied and heal and move forward too.
That's
So
right.
thank you all for joining us. As I've noticed that most of our people that were rooting for the poem has left us, so that means that we just need to go ahead and just end it.
That don't mean that at all.
That is
That
exactly
don't
what
mean
that
that.
means.
That
It's
don't mean that
already
at
past
all.
an hour.
I got my 10. So
No, you didn't.
I
It was
did.
only 4. Let
You
me
said
go back.
4.
It was 4 people.
It
Somebody tried
was
to
more
vote
than
3
4
times.
people.
No, somebody tried to vote 3 times.
Well, Chicago, so that's allowed.
Huh?
Chicago said that's allowed.
That we in Chicago, so that's allowed. That's politics, the Chicago way. Sorry,
What?
sorry.
No, sorry. Okay, there's some static on the line.
Tell
Thank you
us the
all
static
for
on the line.
joining us this evening. Please join us again next week, same bad time, same bad channel. Or we gonna talk about some of these issues because we gonna heal. We
All
gonna
right,
heal.
girl.
We gonna
Thank
heal.
you, Dre, for
Y'all have a
joining
good
us.
one.
Thank you,
Catch
Good
y'all
night,
soon.
everyone. Stay
All
black,
right.
be black, y'all. It's Black History Month.
Stay
Look.
black.
All
Stay
right.
woke.
Wakanda
Later.
forever. Wakanda forever.